Welcome to Friendly Math 101. Today our lesson is solving systems by substitution. This is just some additional practice to go along with our previous video on solving systems by substitution. Substitution is the most efficient method if you have a variable that's already been solved for. So looking at this example, we do have a variable that's already by itself. Looking at the second equation, y has been solved for. So substitution would be the most efficient method for this system. What we can do if y is equal to 5x minus 1 is we could take the quantity of 5x minus 1 and substitute it or replace it in for y of the equation we haven't used yet. So I'm just going to rewrite this equation substituting in 5x minus 1 where we had y, and it becomes a multi-step equation. So what we're going to do is distribute, and that becomes negative 8x minus 10x, and then plus 2 equals negative 16. Combine like terms, so negative 8x and negative 10x makes negative 18x, and it becomes a two-step equation. So we're going to use inverse operations, subtract 2 from both sides, we get negative 18x equals negative 18. Divide both sides by negative 18, and we get x is equal to 1. So this is half of our solution. To get the y value of our system, we're going to substitute this back into one of our original equations. And the second equation looks a lot easier to work with, so I'm going to substitute it in for x here. So we get 5 times 1 minus 1, and we know that 5 times 1 is 5, and 5 minus 1 is 4. So the solution to our system is the point 1, 4. Let's take a look at another example. So most students have the misconception is that they always have to solve for y, but for this system, x has been solved for, and that's okay. We could take this quantity and substitute it in for x, so we have 4 times 3y plus 2 plus 3y is equal to 8. 4 times 3y is 12y. 4 times 2 is positive 8. And then let's just go ahead and bring down everything else in the equation. We're going to combine like terms. 12y and 3y makes 15y plus 8 equals 8. And it becomes a two-step equation. We're going to use inverse operations to solve for y. And divide both sides, we get y is equal to 0. And that's okay, that doesn't mean you got the wrong answer. We're going to substitute this back into one of our original equations. I'm just going to use the top equation, it looks a lot easier to work with. So we have x equals 3, instead of y I'm going to write 0, plus 2. 3 times 0 is 0, 0 plus 2 is 2. So the solution to this system is the point 2, 0. Let's take a look at one more example. So sometimes teachers will make their students solve by substitution even when it's not the most efficient method. So for this example, it'd actually be quicker to use elimination. We're just going to go ahead and use substitution. What you want to do is first solve for one of your variables. And the variable that's easiest to solve for is the variable with a coefficient of 1, which happens to be the x in the second equation here. All right. So what we're going to do is subtract 2y from both sides, and we're going to get x is equal to negative 2y plus 22. We can't combine those because they're not like terms. Now that I have a variable solved for, I could take this quantity and we're going to substitute it into the x of the equation we haven't used yet. So that's going to be negative 5 times negative 2y plus 22 plus 8y is equal to 16. We're going to distribute. Negative 5 times negative 2y is positive 10y. Negative 5 times positive 22 is negative 110. We'll bring down the rest of the equation. Combine like terms. 10y and 8y make 18y. And then we have our two-step equation. So we're going to add 110 to both sides. That gives us 18y is equal to 126. Divide both sides by 18, and we get y is equal to 7. So for this example, it's actually easier to substitute it into the equation that we had created. So this one here where it says x equals negative 2y plus 22. So I'm going to substitute y in, so that's going to be x equals negative 2 times 7 plus 22. And negative 2 times 7 is negative 14. Negative 14 plus 22 is positive 8. So the solution to this system is the point 8, 7. That concludes our lesson on solving systems by substitution. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave your questions in the comments section below. And for more math tutorials, subscribe to our channel, Friendly Math 101.